Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me today for a session of our Village Vitality series. My name is Aline, and for today's class, you will need really just yourself and a chair, but you'll notice I have a bunch of other props as well. These are all optional. So for your chair, you just want to make sure you have something very sturdy that's not going to shift around on the floor. Ideally, not a cushy armchair lazy boy type chair. So we want something a little more firm underneath us, but you can really work with whatever you have and just be careful and just be very aware of your body, which will probably be the case anyways because this is a yoga practice. It's very introspective. In terms of the other props, if you do have a yoga mat, and you want to set it up, go ahead and do it how I have it, kind of long ways here. If you have yoga blocks, highly recommend them. Go ahead and grab those and have them handy. And then a blanket, really of any kind. Just grab a throw blanket from your couch or even a towel folded up. We'll just be using this blanket today for some padding on the back of the chair. So if you have good padding on the back of your chair, you don't even need this. It's up to you. We will be doing a couple back bends where we'll lean back onto the chair, and this just makes it a lot more comfortable for you. Okay, and lastly, you might want some water to have handy under your chair or nearby on a table, just in case you get thirsty throughout class. Now, for class today, we're really going to focus on just, as always, connecting with our body and our breath, and also just doing movements that will help us become more comfortable in our bodies and just more comfortable moving our joints through their range of motion. So yeah, that's all you need to know for today. Now, in terms of, I forgot to mention, shoes or no shoes? That's the question. So honestly, it's up to you. It's personal preference. If you've been told by your doctor that you should always wear shoes, then you should do that. But it's very beneficial for our feet to be out of shoes in terms of our brain-foot connection. So our brain will try to be as efficient as possible. And so with our feet, if we're in shoes all the time, our brain kind of compartmentalizes less. So it just thinks of our foot, maybe toes as one block, foot as another block. When we work with barefoot, when we work with moving our toes individually, then our brain starts to recognize, okay, big toe, next toe, middle toe, the next toe, pinky toe, ball of the foot, heel of the foot, arch. So it starts to differentiate the different parts of the feet. And that, especially for our seniors, can help with balance and stability. So anyway, let's go ahead and get ready for our practice today. So I want you to get comfortable. If that means you just go lay on your couch for this opening session or opening section, go for it. If that means you just lean back into your padded chair setup, go for it. If you really want to work on posture, we won't be here too long, maybe just a couple minutes in our opening sequence, our opening centering. So you could sit a little more upright in your chair if you want to. We're going to be doing one of our easier breathing techniques, Bumblebee Breathing or Bumblebee Breathing. So this one, you could potentially focus on posture as well as the breathing technique. So it's up to you. Go ahead and get comfortable. I think I'm going to work on posture a little bit today. That doesn't mean you have to, but I'm going to come to the middle of my chair, and I'm going to root down through my feet, keeping my knees about hip width apart. I'm thinking of, with each inhale, just lifting and lengthening all the way up through the spine. as if each inhale is just lifting me up a little bit, inflating me up. And with each exhale, relaxing the shoulders down, relaxing the jaw. So finding that duality of engagement in the core, in the back, yet relaxation in the shoulders, in the face, and other areas. Just trying to keep that chest open. If you are working on posture, you may want to take a couple shoulder rolls here. It can be really helpful when you get to that part where you're rolling the shoulders back and down and squeezing the shoulder blades together. That's kind of the feeling we want for our seated upright posture. You don't have to actually be squeezing the shoulder blades the whole time. That could get a little tiresome, but it's that posture that we're looking for with the open chest. So once you've gotten yourself situated, start to settle in a little bit. So closing the eyes if you feel comfortable doing that. And just noticing once you close your eyes, where does your mind go? Where does your breath go? And wherever you've automatically started to think about or notice or change, perhaps in the breathing, begin to be a little more intentional now. Perhaps scanning the body from head to toe, seeing what you observe, noting each body part, noting pain, noting ease, noting tightness or soreness, or really any sensations or lack of sensation that you're feeling in all the parts of the body. Which muscles are really struggling right now, especially if you're practicing on your posture? Where do you feel muscles engaging? Where do you feel effort in the body? And then beginning to shift focus mostly to the breathing now. Do you notice any movement when you inhale? Perhaps in the ribs, in the chest, shoulders, the belly. And see if you can allow, just by observing the body, if you can allow for a little more movement on your inhales, a little more expansion in the ribs. Maybe that means deepening your breath. But sometimes it's just a matter of focusing on that space that can shift and transform the experience. And you can actually feel more opening just by focusing on opening that space. So take a few more moments to establish a deep yet easy breathing. So we're not trying to force or strain in the body to accomplish a deeper breath. Just see how deep and full you can allow your breaths to be without clenching anywhere in the body, without bringing in tightness and tension. And then when you're ready to invite our Bumblebee breathing, you'll be inhaling and exhaling through the nostrils. The inhale will be a regular, maybe a little deeper than normal inhale. And then on the exhale, you'll make a sound with the mouth closed, letting that vibration just spread through the whole head, neck, maybe even into the shoulders and the rest of the body. And you can play around with the sound that your voice makes, how high of a pitch or low of a pitch. You can change it each breath. It can be pretty fun, actually. So whenever you're ready, taking your inhale and then exhaling. Let yourself keep that hum and keep that exhale as long as it feels good to your body. So it's okay if your exhales, and in fact, it's great if your exhales are much longer than your inhales. So keep breathing like that. Go ahead and continue for maybe 3 to 5 more cycles of breath. And I'll give the opportunity to invite this breathing again later in the practice at a couple different points. Finished with that 3 to 5 more breath cycles. If you're laying down, you'll come to your chair. If you're leaning back, you'll come to an upright position in your chair. And take your time here. If you're not done breathing, keep going. But when you're ready, you'll begin to make your way to the edge of your chair. So we really want just the glutes to be on that seat. Unless that just feels awful for you, maybe it depends on your chair. But typically with this positioning, we're able to maintain a better and more easeful upright posture because we're able to tilt the pelvis forward a little bit and maintain neutral curves in the spine. And so go ahead here and either with the eyes open or closed, just work on a few pelvic tilts. So maybe even the hands can come to the hips. And what you're trying to do is press the pelvis forward. So I'm pressing the pubic bone forward. My belly will kind of move forward a little bit, and my hands may kind of push into my thighs a little bit more. So you're trying to tilt, like lifting the tailbone off the chair. And then take the opposite. Not too big of a rounding movement, but kind of tucking the tailbone under. Navel kind of presses to spine. So inhaling, tilting the pelvis forward, noticing what that feels like. Exhaling, tilting the pelvis back. And what we want to find is a kind of neutral space. We definitely don't want to be tilting the pelvis back, but we don't want to be overly tilting the pelvis forward either. So start to make the movement a little smaller. You're just kind of experimenting with where it feels best for your back, for your hips, in terms of that pelvic tilt. And once you feel like you find it, just hang out there. Let's release those arms down. And on an inhale, sweep those arms up and out in front of you. Exhale, opening the arms out, palms down, reaching out through the fingertips. Inhaling, arms up. Exhaling, opening out and down. Moving with your breath. So you might move slower or faster than me. As you open out now, if it feels okay to your shoulders, try pressing the chest open a little bit more. So not just opening the arms to the sides, but also kind of opening back behind you if you can, if it feels okay. A good rule of thumb is if it hurts, don't do it. Especially in a yoga practice like this, we're not trying to have that mentality of no pain, no gain. That's not how it works for this type of practice. Take one more breath like this. Relaxing those hands back to the thighs. Let's take some gentle twisting movements now. So bringing those hands out in front of us, palms together. Take a deep inhale here. On your exhale, start to move the hands over to the left, keeping the palms together as long as you can, and then allowing that right hand to just kind of trace over to that left shoulder as you open out into that twist. Inhaling back to center. Try to maintain contact with that arm. Exhaling over to the right side. So if we keep contact with our hand, kind of rubbing or moving along the opposite arm, we're just stimulating the body a little bit more, possibly stimulating some lymph flowing in the body. Those are good things. And just increasing the connection that we have with the body, with that physical sensation. And so you're not trying to twist very far. We're just really opening the spine and the chest. And if your arms start to get tired, you could just do this movement without the arms. So I'll demonstrate that, but you keep going. And so you'll just be slowly twisting to the right on your exhale, inhaling to center, and exhaling to twist to the left. So you can always drop those arms if they become tired, if you start to experience pain and discomfort from that movement. Let's finish it out with that last twist over to the right. And on your exhale, releasing those arms. Let's get those legs moving a little bit. So on your next inhale, trying to draw that right knee up towards the chest. And exhale, straighten that leg out. Doesn't have to be high. This is not a challenge of strength. We're just trying to get those legs moving. Inhale up and exhale out. You can even drop that heel to the ground. Inhaling up, trying to keep the spine long. So the challenge here is to not allow the back to round forward when you inhale up. Take one more inhale up and exhale out. This time releasing that heel down. If you haven't already been doing that, might want to grab your blocks and bring them on either side of that right foot. We'll be taking a deep inhale here, trying to maintain the long spine. Exhale, just hinging forward. Belly presses forward, chest presses forward. We're not trying to touch our toes. We're really trying to see how much we can fold ourselves in half. Inhale to come up. So on that exhale forward, you should feel a stretch along the back of that right leg. You control the intensity by how far forward you tilt. And maybe if you want to, you can bring the hands to your blocks. Maybe bring them in a little. But we're moving dynamically with our breathing. So just take about 2 or 3 more of these. Maybe one last one if you would like to. And then slowly draw that right foot back in. Notice any differences between right and left sides? Possibly. Maybe not. Just try to observe. And go ahead and just to get those blocks out of the way, we're going to do a side-to-side movement with that right leg now. So inhale to tuck that knee towards the chest. Exhale to open that leg out to the side, bringing the toes down to the ground. So you'll probably notice a stretch here in the groin area. Inhale to tuck the knee up. Exhale to open it out, and you can certainly release that foot down. I recommend it. Inhaling up and exhaling out. If you need to use your right hand to help with this movement, maybe you're not able to maintain that upright open chest, long spine without using the hand to help, go ahead and use that hand. One more inhale, up and in. Exhale, open out. This time, release that foot down entirely. You may want to shift in your chair. Sometimes it can feel good to shift over to that right side a little bit. You might even be able to open that right knee out more when doing that. If you have a block, perhaps bringing it to the inside of that right ankle. We're going to take a deep inhale here to lift and lengthen. Exhale, just start to lean over to that right side and see what you notice. Anything stretching? Maybe that hand comes to the block. Inhaling to center. So we're still keeping with those dynamic movements, breath by breath. Exhale, maybe just to the elbow to the thigh or hand to the block. Inhale, center. We're going to do this several more times. Perhaps you'd like to incorporate that left arm coming up, getting a bit more of a side stretch along that left side of the body. But if that doesn't feel good, then just do the lean. Let's take one more lean over to that right side. This time, everyone, try lifting that left arm up, maybe just straight up to the ceiling, or maybe out by the ear, reaching towards that right side of your room. Try to press that chest open any amount more, maybe even opening that left arm out. Trying to send that heart up to the ceiling. And slowly release that opening stretch. Let an inhale carry you back up. Exhale, relax that arm. Get that block out of the way if you're using it. Guide that right leg back to the middle. And go ahead and shift back to center in your chair if you shifted over to that right side. So repositioning here. Again, pausing to notice if you feel any differences between the two sides of the body, maybe even noticing in the spine, any differences in the chest and the shoulders. And we'll begin to take those same movements to the left side now. So sitting up as tall as we can, relaxing the arms down, maybe even bringing them to the seat for a little support. We'll inhale that left knee towards the chest. Exhale, extend the leg out. Maybe the heel comes to the ground, or maybe it floats. Inhale up, exhale out. Inhale and exhale. Two or three more of these breaths. Remember, you can drop that heel down. And in fact, on your next one, with that next exhale, release that heel down. Leg is straight, maybe bringing those blocks out if you would like to use them. Although we're not going for a very deep stretch here. We just want to get everything woken up a little bit. So deep inhale. Exhale, hinge forward. Maybe hands come to that right thigh or perhaps to blocks if you have them. So inhale to lift up. Exhale to fold forward. Really try to link the body and the breath here. So that full length of exhale, you're lowering, lowering, lowering. You get to your full depth as far as you can go at the end of that exhale. And then as the inhale begins, you begin to lift, inflate up. Don't get frustrated if you can't match it perfectly. It's a bit challenging. This is some good brain flossing that we're doing here and some really good mindfulness practice. On your next fold, we'll hold just a little bit, just a couple seconds, couple breaths. And slowly come back up. You might want to carry your blocks with you. And draw that left foot in. We'll take our side-to-side movement next. So inhaling that left knee up and in. Exhaling to open it out. I recommend bringing the toes down, but you don't have to. Inhaling center. And exhaling out. Remember, feel free to use that left hand. If you need support, especially if you notice your torso's moving quite a bit as you move that leg and you're kind of having to use momentum to get that leg back in, then go ahead and use the hand. We want to maintain that upright posture if possible. We really want to get the full movement here in the hip joint. So if we're manipulating our torso a lot, we're not isolating the movement to that hip. Take one or two more of these opening and closing movements, linking with that breath. Inhaling the knee up and in, exhaling it out. One more, inhaling the knee up and in, and exhaling out. This time we're going to hold that leg out to the side, so bring the whole foot down. You might want to shift in that chair. You might want to grab a block and play around with how much you can open that knee out. perhaps creating a 90-degree angle here with the two legs. Keeping the chest angled forward towards that front knee. We're going to take a deep inhale and exhale. Just start to lean over to that left side without letting the right hip lift away from the chair. Inhaling to lift up and exhaling into that side bend. Maybe the fingertips come to your block if you have it. And with these next few, if you would like to incorporate that right arm, I highly recommend it. So bringing that arm up and reaching out and over in that side lean. Again, how synchronously, I suppose, can you match the breathing and the movement? And the next time you move into that side lean, let's stay there for a breath or two. Use the arm if you can. So if you haven't been lifting that arm, try it now, reaching that arm over towards the left side of the room or up to the ceiling. And perhaps now opening that arm out and behind you, letting the chest tilt up towards the ceiling any amount. But only if that feels good to your body. Coming back to that lean. On an inhale, make your way back up to center. Exhale, relax. You can remove that block. Bring that left foot back in and shift back to the center of your chair if you had shifted over. Go ahead and just scoot back an inch or two in your chair. We're going to work with that Bumblebee breathing again. Now, those of you that have osteoporosis in the spine, I'm going to show you a slightly different version of this movement. Those of you that have, so I would say osteoporosis in the spine or herniated discs, I'll show you an alternative here in a moment. Those of you that have relatively healthy spines, you can do this full version of the movement. So we're going to take an inhale to open out the chest. So pressing the chest forward, pressing the belly forward, lifting the chin. And on the exhale, you're going to take a forward fold with that Bumblebee breathing. Inhaling to come up and open out into that back bend. Okay, so that's one option for this movement. The other option is same exact thing on the inhale. On the exhale, you maintain a neutral spine. And just hinge forward as far as you can without letting the back round. So those of you with osteoporosis in the spine, with herniated or bulging discs, it's that spinal flexion that can be damaging to the spine. So we want to avoid that in certain instances. So let's take about 5 breaths moving through our back bend and our forward fold or forward lean. Okay, at your own pace. Deep inhale. Taking about 1 or 2 more breaths. Take your time. If you're moving slower, you haven't reached that 5 yet. Don't rush. I think I have 1 more fold. The next time you come back up to center, just relax a little bit, and we'll get a little bit more into some of our postures here. So first, let's take a nice restorative back bend. Go ahead and scoot your hips back a little further back in that seat. Now, they don't have to be touching the back of this chair, but you're going to need to experiment here to find what's comfortable for you. So I would move about maybe 3-4 inches away from the back of the chair at first, and it doesn't have to be exact at all by any means. What we're trying to do is come into a restorative back bend. And I call this restorative because we're totally relaxing and leaning into support. So in order to be in this back bend right now, I'm really using very little muscular effort. So go ahead and find where it feels best for you. Experiment a little bit. Oh yeah, this is perfect. This feels great. Like I could hold here for several breaths and be very comfortable. So you want to find that. Part of it will depend on your torso height, on the height of the chair back. So play around with it. But once you feel that you've found that, like chest is opening here, I could stay here for several breaths, that's exactly what we'll do. So we don't want to let the head fall back. We are still keeping almost like the chin is tucking a little bit. You can certainly look up to the ceiling, but you may notice it kind of strains the neck a little bit. So I recommend really just kind of tucking that chin a bit. And if you'd like to, maybe open those arms out a bit more. Open into the chest. You might even feel this all the way down the full length of the arm. Try to breathe here. You might even feel very nice interlacing the fingers behind the back of the head and supporting that head. And opening a little more into back bend. Yeah, I like this. I'm going to stay here personally. Wherever you are, take about 2 or 3 more breaths if you can. Notice you might be able to move a little deeper into your back bend if you stay a little longer. Stretching the abdominals and the chest. Whenever you're ready to come out of the back bend, start from the top of the spine and work your way down. So if you were leaning back like I was into the palms of the hands, tuck that chin first. Then slowly, with support, kind of pressing away from the back of that chair. And from here, we're going to walk those feet over to our left side. And so I want to scoot. I know it might seem a little scary at first, but we're going to free up that right hip. So I want to kind of scoot over in my chair so that my right hip is kind of dangling in space. And I'm holding on to that chair for support and being very slow and cautious coming into this. And from here, we're going to try to get that right knee up under. Now, you have a couple options here. If you do have a block and it works out height-wise, you could bring that knee to a block. It can feel really nice to have that support. You could prop up some pillows or some blankets. It just kind of depends on how far you can get your knee down, how far behind you can get it, and other mechanics like that. Now, you certainly don't have to use the block. You can engage that back leg a little bit more, but it might feel really nice. And if you have a firmer block, you may want to bring just another little blanket or something to throw on top of that block. So we're coming here into a lunge position, supported lunge. Your legs are still probably working. You're probably still feeling it. But we have the support of the chair underneath us for both balance and to bring a little less effort to the body, a little more opening. So go ahead on that left foot once you're situated here. And with the back foot, if you're resting onto something, you can totally relax the top of that back foot. Let yourself stretch that back foot out. So uncurling the toes. Or you can keep them curled under. It's up to you. Now lift up all the toes on that left foot. See if you can bring just the big toe down. And then see if you can bring just the next toe down. And it's okay to look at the toes. Oh, notice how the rest of the toes kind of want to move as one unit. Oh, even on my toes. Oh, man. Yes, okay, I got it. Then the next toe. Then the next toe. And then lastly, that pinky toe. See if we can do the opposite. Lift just the pinky toe. Oh, then the next. Then the next. And then lastly, that big toe. That's the differentiation I'm talking about. My brain is not feeling it. All right, bring all those toes down. You can try one at a time again or any other variation, but let's bring all those toes down now. Let's take a deep inhale, send that right arm out in front. Exhale, take a twist towards that chair. Inhale back to center. Exhale, twist. Notice where you're feeling more stretch, more intensity. And on this next twist, see if we can hold that twist. Bringing that right hand somewhere along the left thigh. I like to bring my left hand to the side of the chair there. Relax the shoulders. Chest is opening. We're not forcing this twist beyond our comfort level. So I am using the chair to leverage a little deeper into my twist, but I'm not allowing tension and tightness to come into the body, which is basically my way of knowing that I'm not pushing beyond my limits. Take one more deep inhale here. And exhale, release that twist. Take a deep inhale. We're going to bring that left hand behind us, right hand to the right hip, and just open out that chest any amount. Now, if you feel like you're going to fall out of the chair, you feel a little uncomfortable doing that, don't move into that back bend. But if you feel okay with it, just see what happens. If you can open out a little bit more, maybe deepen the stretch in the front of that right hip. This is a variation of Camel Pose, which is a very juicy yoga back bend. When you've had enough, you can slowly release out of that back bend and slowly release out of this lunge position. So I would grab hold of my chair, lift that knee up, bring that foot back under, and we're going to walk over to that other side, to the right side now. So if you had a block or pillows stacked up or any other setup, you may want to just try to estimate where that will be on this other side. Turning those hips, trying to free up that left hip, seeing if you can get that knee down to your support. And I should have mentioned on the other side, the first side, the further that knee is behind you, more stretch you'll get in the front of the hip. It's totally fine if that knee is directly underneath or even a little in front of the hip. It just depends on your body and your flexibility and how you feel today. So with the back toes, you can keep them curled under. You can release, only release though if you're propping your knee onto something. So if you don't have anything to prop onto, you need to have those toes curled under. You're a little more active in that back leg. All right. So once you've situated yourself, we're going to move into our twisting breaths. Oh, but before that, we're going to work on our toe exercise. So lifting up all of those toes, but trying to keep the heel and the ball of the foot rooted into the ground. See if you can push just that big toe down. Then the next toe, and it may help to look at your toes if you can see them. Then the next toe, then that fourth toe, and then the pinky toe. Whew. And just so y'all know, I was not able to move all of those toes one at a time. Just so you know, that's normal. We have to work on this type of thing to get that brain-body connection fired up. See if you can lift just that pinky toe. Oh no, all my toes lifted except the big toe. Try to lift one toe at a time. And lastly, that big toe. And then go ahead and release those toes down. Bringing that left arm out in front, shoulder height. Deep inhale here. Exhale, twisting to that right side any amount. Inhale back to center. Exhale, twist. Just moving like this at your own pace. Each exhale, moving you into your twist. Each inhale, releasing you back to center. On your next twist, go ahead and hold it there for several breaths. So that left hand, you'll bring it somewhere along the outside of that right thigh. Right hand maybe is moving to the outer edge of your chair. Shoulders are down. Remember, we're not forcing here. We're not wrenching the spine to twist deeper. But we can use the chair a little bit for some leverage as long as it feels good. Trying to breathe as deeply as we can here, even in this twist that maybe feels like it constricts the ribs a little bit. Take one more deep inhale. And exhale, releasing to center. Go ahead and slowly release all the way back to the front. So I recommend grabbing hold of the chair. Oh, I lied. Stop. Let's do that back bend on this side. If you've already exited the pose, don't worry about it. But if you're still here with me, let's bring that right hand to the seat of the chair, left hand to the back of the glute. And just open forward any amount, pressing the ribs forward, the chest forward. It might be a very slight back bend, a very slight movement. But so wonderful for the spine. Back bending is very healthy for pretty much any and all spinal conditions. And slowly release that back bend. Now go ahead and release yourself out of that lunge. We're going to take one more seated posture and come up to standing for one posture, and then time to relax. So you may want your blocks if you have them. If you have a second chair, this one would be great with a second chair. So I'm actually going to drag a chair over. So let's say you're using your dining room chairs right now. You may want to grab another chair and bring it over in front of you. We're going to work on a pose called Goddess Pose. And so what you'll do is try to open the feet out as wide as you can to either side. Toes are going to be angling out, so we don't want the knees open but the toes pointed forward. That's not great for the ankles. So open those toes out. Get those feet wide. If you don't have a second chair, maybe you just have blocks. I'll kind of demonstrate what that looks like. Obviously, I'll demonstrate with a chair. And if you don't have any of these additional props, then you're just going to keep hands on the thighs. Basically, what we're going to do is move forward. So we want to stretch here in the thighs, the hips. So we're trying to keep the knees open and not allow them to sink in as we move into this fold. So sitting up as tall as we can on our exhale, starting to walk the hands forward. So if you've got that chair, this can be really nice. You could even drop those elbows down. Getting a nice stretch, probably in the back, in the inner thighs, in the hips. Of course, you can stay up. You can have hands to blocks, or if you're having hands on the thighs, you're trying to kind of press those thighs back as you lean forward. So you've got lots of options. Check out which feels best for you. And of course, it may depend on what props you have handy. You can even play around here with possibly, but very carefully, straightening one leg. Noticing how that changes the stretch. If it feels good. If it doesn't feel good, then come back to the bent leg. And if you've tried that, straightening one leg, you may want to come up a little bit to bring that foot back in and straighten out the other leg. We're going to be here about 4 or 5 more breaths. So if you have straightened one leg, we definitely want to get a good amount of time on the other side too. Oh, yeah. Just breathing here, trying to relax into this stretch as much as you can. And let's take about 2 more or 3 more breaths, both knees bent again. Or if you're feeling extra experimental, maybe both legs straight. Ooh, yeah. But of course, don't do this one if you don't have a chair or blocks to reach to. Okay, when you've had enough of playing around in that goddess pose, come back up. Walk those feet in. Let's move that extra chair out of the way if you were using it and come up to standing. So I'm going to move my blocks out of the way. And I'm going to move this chair off to the side just so you can see me better. And so we're going to need to move our chair or bring an additional chair in. But I'm just going to move that chair to the front of my mat. We're going to take one pose here called Triangle Pose. It's kind of a combination of all of the movements that we've been doing to open up our hips, hamstrings, sides of the body, shoulders. We're taking all of those dynamics into one posture that will help test your balance a little bit and your flexibility. So turning sideways to that chair, left hand on the chair. Let's open those feet out. So just take some baby steps. Get those feet as wide as you feel comfortable. I recommend at minimum shoulder width. So I'm a little bit wider than shoulder width right now. And that's great too if you can manage it and you feel comfortable doing so. And then you're going to pick those left toes up and open them out towards your chair. So you may already feel like, ooh, some weird, interesting dynamics going on in that front hip and both hips. Try to get that pelvis level. So a lot of times we tend to hike up that right hip and drop that left hip in this pose. Let's just try to maintain a balance. It's not the end of the world if you allow for a little tilt, and a little tilt will happen naturally. So from here, take a deep inhale. See if you feel comfortable at least raising that right arm to shoulder height. Maybe you even feel okay lifting that left arm to shoulder height. But respect your balance here. If you know your balance is really bad, I don't want you to fall trying to do this pose. So you may want to keep that hand on the chair. Take a deep inhale here. Both legs stay straight, but not locked. So there's like a little tiny micro bend in those knees. Deep inhale. Exhale, reach forward like someone's pulling those left fingertips. Reach, 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 reach. And then send that hand down. Now maybe you can reach the seat of your chair. Maybe that hand's going to come to the chair back. I should have told you to put your block in your chair. So don't do what I'm doing right now and try to lean for that. You're going to have to come out of your pose, grab your block. You could also just turn your chair around. But if you feel like you're so close to reaching your hand in the seat of the chair, but you're not quite there, that block is going to help enormously. And now sending that right arm up towards the ceiling to increase that stretch along the right side, or even out across overhead. Try to open that chest forward. Try to breathe here. Triangle or Trikonasana. Press into the outer edge of that right foot. So our tendency will be to roll and collapse into the arch of that foot. Let's try to press into the outer edge, into that pinky toe. Take 3 Brahmari breaths here, and then we'll switch to the other side. When you're done, inhale to come up. If you can, back to those arms out. Exhale, relax. And you can bend that left foot, step the right foot up to meet the left foot, or you can inch those feet in together, however you need to come out of this. But a good little challenge is to bring the feet together. Then we'll open out to the other side. So feet come apart. Angle those right toes this time to face the chair. Right hand on the chair for support and balance if you need it. Really trying not to let that right knee lock out. So right now my knee is locked. You can kind of see it's almost like bowing. Terrible for the knee joint, especially if we put weight into it. So when I demonstrated, I was trying to put as little weight as possible. Don't worry. So we want to keep a little bend there. Inhale that left arm up. Maybe even the right arm comes up. Reach, 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 reach forward. So if the hand is on the chair, you still are reaching like someone's maybe tugging your shoulder. Okay. Reach, reach, reach. And then release that hand down. Sending that left arm up, feeling that lovely, maybe intense stretch along that left side. And trying to breathe and settle here in triangle pose. Chest is opening forward. 3 Brahmari breaths. you finished with your breathing, take an inhale to come up. Exhale, relax the arms. And if you can, practicing taking that step forward. Let's relax, you guys. So you're going to come to whatever variation of Shavasana you would prefer. Shavasana is our corpse pose, our time for the body to integrate everything that we did in our practice, to let everything settle in and sink in and assimilate in the body. And so you want to get as comfortable and relaxed as you can. I recommend moving over to your couch, perhaps laying on your mat if you feel comfortable getting down to the ground. And if you do feel comfortable with that, I highly recommend propping your legs up into the chair. Feels wonderful. You wouldn't want to do that if you have congestive heart failure, okay? So no legs above the heart. But for pretty much everyone else, as long as it feels good, it should be okay. If you're staying in the chair, definitely want to get that blanket draped over the back. You want to lean back, maybe even using a block. I don't know. I don't really recommend that, honestly. So maybe leaning back into the chair. We want to try to keep the chest open. We don't want to let ourselves kind of close down. So if you're staying in the chair, try to keep it open. Try to relax those legs as much as you can. Just settle in. Let's take about 3 relaxing breaths. So deep inhale and exhale. One more. Letting your eyes close. Sinking into the support of your chair or the couch or the floor. Maybe taking a little scan of the body. And when I do this, I like to envision a glowing, warm light spreading across my whole body. So starting as just a little pinpoint at the crown of the head, like a little laser beam. And then I try to feel that warmth and relaxation spreading across the whole top of my head. And then spreading down across the forehead, down to the ears, down the face, the sides of the neck, and the back of the head. And that warm relaxation, whenever it comes across a tight muscle, releases it. So the jaw's relaxed now, the eyebrows are relaxed. And that warm glow spreads down the neck and the shoulders as those shoulders release any tension. And spreading down across the chest and the upper back, down the tops of the arms to the elbows, down towards the hands, the abdomen, the sides and back. Spreading warmth and relaxation down to the hips, fronts and back. And down the legs now, to the knees, to the calves and shins, until that warm relaxation is spread all the way to the toes. Your body is heavy, relaxed, content. Begin to see now if you can attempt to make the body feel lighter. Drawing your breaths in a little bit deeper, as if you're inflating your whole body with this wonderful life force, this prana, this vitality, drawing it in through the nostrils and pumping it all the way down, like inflating a balloon. Each breath makes your body feel a little bit more buoyant, spacious and loose, and light. Just waking yourself back up from that deep, heavy relaxation. Begin to move the body again, just a little bit of movement in the fingers and the toes at first. And then making the movement bigger, incorporating the whole foot, the whole hand. Maybe the ankles and the wrists start to circle. Maybe you take a little stretch like a cat waking up from a nap. And slowly, if you're already in your chair, make your way to seated, or if it's easy for you to come to a seated position, make your way to seated. Otherwise, you can stay relaxing on your back. From here, on an inhale, raising those arms up overhead, reaching. And exhaling, drawing the palms together in front of that heart. Thank you so much for joining me today and deepening this practice of self-awareness, of flexibility, of mind-body connection, of strength and vitality. And the light and the love and the beauty within me recognizes that within you. Namaste. When you're ready, you can release the hands and open the eyes. Thank you again. So glad that you joined me today. I hope you're glad too. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me because I'm here for you. No matter how silly or small your question or request may seem, please reach out. And hopefully I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye.